So this one's gonna be about an ideas.that.com nevermind article. Always exact same fucking shit with the dots and tots and T and D and whatsoever. But yeah, hello, welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics fucking podcast. And as you've heard already in the intro, we are actually going through an ideas.ted.com website. It has been a while, since I've gone through one of these, but they're still pretty fucking great, even though, we could debate about whether just the James Clear articles are better or the TED articles are better. Well, it comes up, I guess, they both have just really great articles. And yeah, you've probably seen a little bit of the article itself actually in the intro because the screen is somehow transparent. But yeah, I'll show you. So this is actually what we're going through today, which is nature can be as engaging as video games. So how to help kids fall in love with the outdoors. So I don't assume that you have kids. I do not have kids. I'm fucking 18. This just doesn't mean anything, but I do not have kids, But I still think this could be just pretty valuable to people, especially if it's about just feeling like doing something, I guess, because sometimes I myself have the feeling that, I just, fuck around with the day, I'm just not doing anything the whole day long, and then I just feel bad about it. And something that helped me, I think, 2 years ago it actually was, or 1 year ago, was actually being outside and taking photos. I think it was 2 years ago, but I don't remember. I really don't. But I think it really helped me. Like, it was just something that was an everyday doing, something that I just did every single day. I just, stood up, did some fucking shit, watched some YouTube, some boring stuff actually. And then I went outside just, in the woods because there are just some woods in front of my window. I just went there, just went through the city and whatever, just photographed everything that I found was cool. And it just really helped me doing something, I guess, that somehow made sense, somehow wasn't that just only wasted time, but I guess that's it. It was just really fun, I guess, and it could also just or only be the thing that I was just excited about it. I was excited about just going out, doing something, and actually this is something that I hope this article will bring to me again and or to you again, or to you, because I guess this is actually somehow the truth that the outdoors can really be engaging, and not only video games. But let's actually see. Let's fucking see what it is all about. So nature can be as engaging as video games. How to help kids fall in love with the outdoors by Daryl Chen. It is actually from the science section. Yeah, and this picture, as you can see, is from Justin Tram. It's a nice one. They always have those great illustrations, those great pictures. But yeah, I'll just go ahead with reading. You don't need to go to a national park to help your kids fall in love with nature. A walk around the block can be enough. Tech also doesn't have to be the enemy. Instead, use it as a tool to enhance their awe. Their awe, says science communicator Scott Sampson. So this post is part of TED's How to Be a Better Human series, each of which contains a piece of helpful advice from someone in the TED community. Browse through all of them here. I think I've just read them 100 times. I've read the fucking paragraph so fucking often. But yeah. So growing up, Scott Sampson, the paleontologist, never mind, and CEO of Science World in Vancouver, Canada, went on annual camping trips to the Rocky Mountains with his family. However, this was not where I fell in love with nature. He recalls in a TEDx Langlayet talk that happened close to home. Looking for rocks in the backyard, playing kid the Chan in the neighborhood, bushwhacking in the local forest. Sampson, who grew up in Vancouver, says, I still remember my mother kicking me outside on a Saturday and telling me to come back in when the streetlights came out. I'm pretty sure I remember hearing the door lock behind me as I walked away. Just go away, you fucker. No. But I guess, it is, I think, actually something that a lot of people just think like, okay, back in the days we all just went out and stayed out all day long. We weren't at home as all the fucking kids nowadays and whatsoever, which I think is somehow bullshit. I do not have any just points to somehow speak against that. It is the case. We are staying more inside. This is also something that I notice with kids. We are just staying more inside. It always depends on where you're living. In cities, you just, actually not. I just wanted to say that in cities you're probably not going to be as much outside as just when you're in a village or something where just nature is around, basically. But I guess in cities there is actually a high temptation of actually going out, because there's a lot to look at, whether it be just, meeting your friends and just being around in the city and whatever. I guess, this is also something that people do, but still something different than being in a village, I assume, I guess. But as I initially want to say, a lot of people think about just all these stay inside kids are so bad, they're so fucked up and whatever, but I kind of feel like, this is just today's generation, maybe. This is just what they do. We, also me, I've been just, for me, it actually is the case that I've been outside and I've been at home quite equally, I would say. I was just still really happy to be outside, play some soccer is just something that I incredibly loved and still love. But yeah, for me it was just equally kind of split between those two. But I still don't think that, those people or this generation is bad. It's the same thing as, Generation X or Generation Y, or the baby boomers have thought about the just generation that was after them. I think every generation is going to just talk bad about the next one, unless they're just really better. But yeah, they're still going to be different. And I don't know, maybe somehow people just demonize differences and the difference between them and, other things. But I just guess that it is what it is, and unless we are healthy, all the generations, and not somehow, handicapped physically, which might you can assume by just viewing people that are sitting around just all day long. You can just think, okay, they're going to be just some disabilities or something. Probably there are. I don't know. I think there really are. But yeah, unless we are healthy, unless everything is okay, unless it is good, why would you fucking complain? Yeah. Number one is health, I would assume. But yeah, let's see. Actually, the screen is too big. Pretty interesting. No. Even though he knows it's not possible for today's children to have that freedom, he encourages parents to help kids fall in love with nature, just like he did. Through direct experience. He recommends 3 steps that we, along with the children in our lives, can take to connect with nature. Which could be particularly great, I guess. I really love to somehow think about the world and, how the world is nowadays and whatever, compared to how it initially was, before we had all the buildings, before we had cars, before we had anything. Like, just being a caveman, I like this kind of thinking, because we were deeply connected with nature, I assume, at least. I really guess, I don't know, I'm not really educated in space, even though I just, I would like to, I guess, because it is really interesting for me. But still, I think we have just been way more connected and way better connected with nature, just as we were cavemans, or just as we weren't like just industrialized and whatsoever. So it could be actually a good thing to connect with nature again. I don't know, maybe this is some esoteric bullshit, could also be the case. I do not want to lie, but yeah, let's actually have a look at step 1, which is, I always click the wrong one, which is notice. We don't need to invest in outdoor equipment or an expensive vacation to get started. According to Samson, also the author of How to Raise a Wild Child, we just need to notice what's actually, that's a great name. How to Raise a Wild Child, just only because of this rhyme in the end, just wild and child. Good idea actually, and a good one. And actually this is some marketing principles, could also be the case, I don't know. I think it's just good. So we just need to notice what's around us, even if we live in a city. Too often these days we walk right, isn't it about mindfulness just? I think it's just mindfulness, yeah. So too often these days we walk right past amazing natural events. He says, it could be a butterfly or a branch, a hawk hunting silently overhead. It could be a beautiful evening sky. Whatever the clouds are doing at any given moment, you can rest assured that they will never be exactly the same ever again. It turns out just taking a kid for a walk around the block can be a powerful experience. And there has to be emphasized can. It can be a powerful experience. It can be a great experience. It can be something, I guess, but it doesn't have to be. Like, for sure, there are going to be just some fucked up days. There are going to be some days you're not really mindful, you're not really actually giving a fuck about what's around you. It's what it is, and I just really hear some people just being like, that's just what it is when you're only listening to music all fucking day long, whatsoever. Could be the case, I'm really do not want to say that this is just total bullshit, but it's like, something that I clearly see is that people demonize fucking technology, and I think that's just pretty much fucked up. Like, it would be the same thing as just demonizing the drugs that we're having to stay healthy and just not die because of a flu or something. Just people do not kind of fuck with that either. So, just don't fuck with fucking technology in general. Like, phones are not bad, and then computers are not bad. They totally have an upside actually. But, for sure also a downside. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna just, live in a fantasy world where everything is fine and everything is okay. For sure it's not, unless you just really, have the right perspective, I guess. If you just really view only the good things, you're just gonna see the good things. Something that I've been talking about way too often, I guess. Let's actually move along. Actually ahead. So E.O. Wilson first stumbled upon the complex society of ants as a child when he saw them emerging near a sidewalk in Pensacola, Florida. I don't know that. And he went on to become the world's foremost expert in that insect and an eminent Harvard University biologist. When Samson himself was a kid, his mother brought him to a nearby pond because she would hear it had tadpoles. What are tadpoles or tadpoles? The tailed aquatic larva of an amphibian, frog, toad, newt, or salamander, breathing through grills and licking legs until the later stages of its. I see. Good, there is actually a translation. Even though I didn't need it. Never mind. Good to know. Where is it? Can't see it. Yeah, there is it. So when they got there, he saw nothing. Then he says, I stepped into the water and I could see that these little things move around. And I realized there were thousands of tadpoles in the water. His mother urged him to stand in the pot up to his chest. Samson says, Now I promise you, this is not something that most mothers would condone today. But it was a life-changing experience for me. And that pond, surrounded by thousands of tadpoles, I had this experience of honorness. Is it honorness? But it's not honor, like with an H, honor. The fact or state of being unified or whole. He was oneness. The experience of oneness with the pond. Like there was no difference between the pond and me, and that experience has been stuck with me my whole life. Long. No fucking man. Cringe as shit, motherfucker. I guess, that whole experiences that I think everybody has experiences that are just stuck with them or with them their whole life long. And I'm just thinking, like, one of these experiences that I for sure have is actually swimming one of my friends out of a fucking just lake, actually, because he wasn't able to swim. And we stupid motherfuckers have had the idea, okay, just let's get into the sea, because there was somehow a little island, like a plastic island where you could just sit on and relax on or whatever. And we used some sort of surfing board, actually. It wasn't a boat, it really was a surfing board. And we just, took it and went to this little island there. And then it just, of course, is it dripped away? I don't know, it went away through the dynamics the lake has, whatever it is called. And of course we thought, like, I know we are just way too lazy to actually get the boat and then just, take our friend with us and then just drive basically to the side of the lake. We of course just decided, okay, let's jump right into it, because it is totally okay. You can't swim, but we're just gonna learn it is by just throwing you into cold water. Ha ha ha! Great joke. It was just a fucking stupid idea. It was really a stupid idea. Fortunately, I can say, well, it was not my idea, but I also didn't do something about it. In the end, everything turned out to actually me swimming my friend out of the fucking lake. It was exhausting. It was really not that easy. Especially because my friend was just weighing way more than I. Way more is a little overdone, but he was weighing more than I was, because I'm naturally pretty skinny. And it was hard work. It was really hard work. It was not something easy. And the worst thing about it was, I think, I actually had once the thought of actually letting him, well, drown, basically, so that I don't drown, because obviously he was also pressing me down, and it was exhausting, and I had just also the fear of dying, quite obviously. But in the end, everything was okay. He threw up, which was, well, fucked up, because he just, drank a lot of water, and then he threw up, and, it was disgusting, of course, but but we all live now, and we still live, and we have survived, which, well, it's great that we survived, like, nothing to talk about that, but it was fucking dumb. Please don't do that. If somebody's not able to swim, please just don't go into the fucking water, because chances of dying are actually just really high. So we can start by developing our own simple habits, and one that could open up our perspectives. Samson suggests, when you step outside the door in the morning, pause for 10 seconds. Ask yourself questions like, what does the air feel like? How many different kinds of birds can I hear? And what are the clouds doing? And most important, he says, do this with kids, because there's the deal. Kids value what we value. And if you don't value the natural world and show that you care about it, it is highly unlikely the kids will. Because obviously, actually something that I've realized, as a parent and I think also as a sibling, you just have such a big responsibility, for, well, just spitting around like crazy, for what this kid's gonna be. Like, yeah, if you just eat shit, this kid's also gonna eat shit, unless there's some intolerances or something like this, so that the kid can't eat anything shit. But if, well, it really is like, okay, the kid's gonna be just, well, at least in the beginning, I am not talking about puberty where people just naturally change, but in the really beginning, the kid's gonna be just like the whole, just, the other part of the family is. If it is all about just laying around all day long at home, the kids are also gonna do this. If it's about being a super athlete, the kids are also gonna be athletic, at least. We're not gonna say it's gonna be an athlete, but this kid's gonna be just really athletic. I at least assume, so I really guess it is the case. And I think I see it as well, which is sometimes really fucked up, especially when you just see parents or families, without judging, I'm really not, that maybe clearly aren't doing it right, even though, I'm really not the person, nobody should, I guess, judge parents by how they're parenting, because first of all, I'm not a parent, the good thing is I got parented as well, so I do just can talk as well. But yeah, they're doing their shit, I'm doing my shit, and I should not judge them, and I should also not judge myself. Step 2, engage. We need to allow kids to interact with the natural world so they can learn from it. For little kids, a stick and a paddle, or their feet and a paddle, are enough. As they get older, it is great to find activities that allow them to demonstrate increasing competence. Things like fishing or skiing or hiking. Sampson says, too often these days, when it comes to engaging in nature, we hear the word no from parents. No, don't throw that rock. No, put down that stick. No, get out of that tree. By preventing them from engaging in risky play, we are preventing them from learning how to navigate risk, a skill they will desperately need as a teenager and the rest of their lives. The bigger risk is not letting them engage. The bigger risk is not letting them engage in this kind of play. And I believe in this, I really believe in this. So rather than being a helicopter parent, think about being a hummingbird parent, suggests Sampson. Sit on the periphery, zoom in only when necessary, which isn't very often, and zoom back out again. And as kids get older, increase the distance between you and them to give them greater independence. Another way to stoke kids' interest in the outdoors, tell them about your own encounters. The time you saw an eclipse, went apple picking, climbing or cramming, collected daddy long leg spiders, or grew an avocado tree after making guacamole. Then provide them with opportunities to start collecting their own stories. Sampson says, and I do believe that experiences are so fucking valuable. Just give a fuck about the materialistic bullshit you could buy, Give a fuck about the new phone, just go on a vacation, just learn something for your fucking life. Also, I think the same case maybe with books. If books are clearly an experience for you, just invest in books. Read fucking books and give a fuck about just new shit that you just do not need even. If you need something, I really do not want to argue. Just get it, I guess. If you need it, buying it, of course. But always, I'm always on a budget. Like, I will always budget. And I guess this is going to stick with me my whole life long, which is not something bad necessarily. Sometimes it's just pissing me off because I clearly always have to see to actually get the best price and get the best product for the buck and whatever. It really could, it really is pissing me on sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, it is what it is, I guess. But I really believe just having experiences and collecting experiences is very important. It really is important, Yeah. Where have I stopped? Sampson says, parents are often nervous about taking kids in nature because they know that those kids are going to ask questions and they are afraid they're not going to know the answer. I can't think of that. I really believe that some people and some parents actually have that problem and have that kind of thinking. Even though I do just have to say, okay, no. I think it's not bad if you do not have an answer. Like, well, just tell them to Google it if you do not have an answer. And this is just the best, something that we just have is fucking Google and internet and all these things, and we should need it, or we should use it. We need it, and we should also use it also with the kids, I guess. Just teaching them how to use it and how they just gain knowledge, I guess, through this medium that's probably going to stick around for a few years. I don't know how Google's going to look like in 50 years or something, but it's still going to be there, I assume, in some kind of form. It could also just have a different name like Google, or obviously it's going to be called Google, because they decide, what, let's just not use just English letters, just use U's and U's and A's and all this shit. But yeah. You do not need to know any answer. Questions are far more powerful. Something that I heard before, I think. We actually have a bit to go. It pisses me on a little bit that I'm not able to finish this one. But yeah, so for example, Samson and his daughter Jade, then 7. Should I actually stop this here? So that we do just have something to go with for the next one. No, I don't. So I don't think so. So for example, Samson and his daughter Jade, then 7, went on a hike one day. He cautions never go on a hike with kids. It doesn't end well. Instead, he advises call it an adventure. He recalls, we were a few minutes in and we saw one of my favorite birds, a great blue heron. Well, actually, I want to see this fucking bird. The great blue heron. I assume that it's just looking... Well, I think you don't see it that often, but it's... I don't know, like... I really don't know, like... Okay, it's a cool bird and whatsoever, but it's okay, I guess. It's really not something, that amazing. Even though he looks cool with his little, there you can see it the best, with this little kind of thing there, this one, on the back of his head, it looks cool somehow, I think at least. Never mind. Let's see, now I do just have way too much windows there, thank you. Jade saw it and turned to me and said, Daddy, what's that bird? And I took every ounce of my biologist training not to give her not only the common name of the bird, but the scientific name, its diet and the habitat that it lives in. But on this particular day, I said, I don't know. What do you think it is? And she said, I think it's a heron. And I said, well, what do you think it's doing? She said, I think it's hunting. I said, what do you think it's hunting for? And she looks up at me and said, rodents. What are rodents? A gnoming mammal of an order that includes rats, mice, squirrels, hamsters, and whatsoever. So Samson told Jade they should wait and see what happens. He says, it was almost as if it was on cue. Within 2 minutes, this amazing large bird did that slow motion sand-like bow until it got close to the ground, and it emerged with a mole in its back. Or beak? Beak? After they got home, Jade looked in a nature guide and found out the bird's exact name. Samson says she still remembers it to this day and she is 16 years old. Let's rewind the tape. What if when she had said, Daddy, what's the bird? I said, hey, that's a great blue heron, and we kept right on working, blah, 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 blah. It would have been a missed opportunity. But no uncommon or photogenic animals are necessary to launch an exploration. You can do the same with the pigeons, or pigeons, starlings or squirrels you see on the sidewalk, the flies, bees and mosquitoes that infiltrate your home, or the crickets, and flies that are here chirping, buzzing and blinking. Ask kids, what do they eat? Where do they sleep? What are their most important abilities? And which animals are their enemies? Actually great. And the next time, which is actually tomorrow, we're gonna go ahead with step 3, which is wonder. Wonder. And I see a mistake there. But yeah. It's been a great one, I guess. And it could really maybe contribute to you and your kids or yourself. I think in general, asking yourself questions is pretty strong, pretty amazing, like pretty just great. Yeah, but with that being said, thank you very much for listening and or watching. And I wish you the best health, wealth, happiness, and success, and I also hope that you're going to remind yourself on how you're going to be remembered, because you totally have it in your control, your legacy, Even though I do just have to say that we can't serve everyone, which means that we aren't able to just let everyone like us. There's always going to be someone that just doesn't like you, doesn't like me, doesn't like just everyone, anyone. But yeah, being kind and generous and so on is important. Thank you.